watching East Tennessee's first and only year-round sports talk show on television. This is The Sports Source with your host, John Pennington.
Good Sunday morning and welcome into The Sports Source. Happy to have you with us on this dreary, rainy day. When I say good Sunday morning, that's more of a greeting than it is actual detail of our weather today. It's not a good Sunday out there, which means it's the perfect day to hang out with us for the next hour as we talk all kinds of Tennessee athletics, starting with football. Also, before we even get going into this thing, congratulations to the Knoxville Ice Bears. Won the SPHL championship yesterday. I think it's their first title since 2009, but it's their fourth overall. Is that correct, guys? Fourth?
I believe that's correct. Yep.
Fourth. Congratulations to the Ice Bears, a tremendously run organization. Just as we discussed a little on last week's show, better than the city government of Knoxville deserves. So congratulations to them.
More parking tickets, John.
And more parking tickets for me. Let's get going with this first segment of our show, brought to you by the folks at Phil Cobble Fine Homes and Land. And no one does a better job of helping you move your property than Phil and his team. For example, take this working 90-acre farm in Greenville. There's an on-site permanent manager, which allows the property to produce revenue for you, income for you, whether you are living on that property or not. You got wooded areas, you got access to the Nolichucky River, fully irrigated land, cross-fenced, beautiful, beautiful working farm in Greenville. Give Phil Cobble Fine Homes and Land a call. Make your appointment through Rachel Elliott. Make your appointment through Rachel Elliott. Phil Cobble Fine Homes and Land. Tremendous opportunity right there. All right, let's tell you what we got coming up on today's show right there. We start with spring practice. Dobbs a fan favorite now, but will he be at the end of the season? We'll look into past history of Tennessee quarterbacks, discuss that. Coleman Thomas returns to the team. Spring practice or spring attendance. We'll talk about how many folks will show up for the Orange and White game next week. Scheduled difficulty. Another ranking has come out. It's ranking the Vols in the top 25. Is it legit? And what's the over-under on wins this year? I'll set it at 7.5. We'll see who agrees. We got a video daily double as I completely rip off straight from Jeopardy right there. You want to stick around for that. We're going to discuss Tennessee's new quarterback commitment and his video announcement of that decision. Tennessee baseball, how much heat should Dave Serrano feel, or how much Serrano should Heat feel? And finally, basketball recruiting and some of the obstacles that lay in front of Rick Barnes and crew. All right, here's the rest of the panel. We have Bob Hodge, longtime freelance contributor to the Knoxville News Sentinel. We have Jimmy Himes, who, of course, the host of Sports Talk on Sports Radio WNML Monday through Friday. We have Mike Strange right there, longtime columnist to the Knoxville News Sentinel and a member of the rotating group that does the sports page on WNML. And down there, Chuck Cavaliers from Southern Golf Central Magazine.
Yes, sir.
And .com. All right. Gentlemen, Butch Jones opened up Neyland Stadium to the students yesterday. Ran the media out of there. Let the students come in and have their day, have their fun. Mike, you caught up with some students afterwards to talk about it. Saw that in the Sentinel today. By all accounts, run game better. Butch Jones said he was worried about the throw game, as he calls it. They've got to improve in the throw game. He mentioned specifically, yes, injuries are playing a part in this because you got so many guys out right now. But also, he was clear he wasn't happy with the consistency that he's not seeing from this bunch. You're 1 week from the spring game. We talked a little last week. How much can you really judge the Josh Dobbs factor when last year he had a reputation for being a better game player than practice player? Any reason for concern at this point? Is anybody concerned with the throw game at this point, or are you chalking this up to it's spring, you got a lot of guys out?
I think it's a concern a little bit, yeah. And Bob mentioned is that they've dropped passes in practice. Why are you dropping passes? You know, and these aren't just from players that you don't expect to play. It's Peg Howard, it's Ethan Wolf. There are other players that are dropping passes. And that's the one thing that before spring practice you should be able to build some chemistry and improve upon, because you've got all these voluntary workout days when you can throw, and your quarterback should be building some chemistry with the receiver. So to me, that's a concern that they've been dropping as many passes and they're not more efficient in the pass game. And I'm talking about with Dobbs also, not just Jennings and the walk-on quarterbacks. So I think that's a little bit of a concern right
You're
now.
concerned about the catch game.
Yeah, as opposed to the throw.
Clear that up.
Any concerns from you?
No, not really. Not based on spring anyway, because, you know, you got a couple of guys that aren't out there, and I just don't base a whole lot on spring anyway. If I had any concerns, I would think back to maybe, last fall in November, a couple of games where the Dobbs and the receivers weren't as sharp.
And that's what I was going to go to. The spring game doesn't really bother me a whole lot. But if you look, the Missouri game, the Vandy game last year, when Dobbs wasn't able to run free and had to stay back a little bit more of a pocket passer, I think he looked a little bit inaccurate. He looked a little bit unsure of himself, and that's what gives me much more of a concern than anything really that's happening in the spring.
And as Butch Jones going to step through it and mention just about everything. He said it's the running backs, one of the first things he mentioned, though, was protection. Now, you're rotating some guys on the offensive line, but here's the thing. If you don't get better on that offensive line, as you mentioned, Missouri and Vandy got pressure on Dobbs, and they played him in such a way that there was no escape routes. So he was forced to kind of stand back there and throw more. To me, that would be the bigger concern, but you went into spring with that being the concern. The offensive line, to me, is what's going to make or break this season. Chuck, you got anything to add on the quarterback?
My thing is, I think the coach speak on that is you just got some things you got to clean up, and to me, that's more of a mental thing. What I think really bugs you a little bit is I think this staff looks at a drop pass pretty much like a fumble. That's how much they put on it in terms of importance. And, get it out of your system now. Let's see how things look in August.
Yeah, I agree with Jimmy, though. If you're dropping passes now, why is that? I mean, these guys have worked with Dobbs now. Some of these guys have worked with him in practice for 2-3 years at this point. Why are you dropping passes? So
I will go with one more thing real quickly.
Yes, sir.
I would much rather have my coach in the spring talking about his concerns than what we had here several years ago when you didn't have the media at the practice, but everything's great. Oh, it's fantastic. You're going to be, when you actually get to see it, you're going to be blown away. I would much rather be sitting there talking about the concerns than everything that's fantastic.
Yeah, you heard that in 2005, and then we all heard that the Claw fence was, David Clawson's offense was just going to be a thing of beauty, and it wasn't exactly going to the Louvre. All right, let's talk about the O-line very quickly, though. Very quickly. Yesterday, the first 5 guys out there: Kyler Kerbyson, Austin Sanders, Matt Crowder at center, Jashawn Robertson, and Brett Kendrick. But here's the question: any of these guys locked in for the fall?
Well,
Mike, I'll let you start.
I don't think so. Butch Jones says not. Now, common sense tells you. I mean, he's all about the best 5. We're going to find the best 5. That's what it's all about. That will go on. And a guy that started last year may not start. He may not start at the same position. So I think that's legitimate. They're looking for the best 5.
But aren't you going to have an article in the paper tomorrow?
Yeah.
By the way,
he's going to talking about the center position.
I set you up, man. I set you up. Chuck had to do the notes for you.
No, I asked him if Matt Crowder. They're looking at all these other guys at center. I said, "Is this just to have depth, or are you looking for your best center?" And he said, "We're looking for our best center. We're looking for our best guards, best tackles."
And of course, that's where Coleman Thomas is getting his look now that he's back on the team, which we'll discuss later in the show. But that was his natural position. I mean, that's one of the things. Of all the guys last year I felt bad for, it was Coleman Thomas, because you're a true freshman and you're not even playing your position. Right. You've never been the right tackle before, and you get thrown in there, and everyone is focused on every mistake that you make last year. So he's one of those guys that's going to get a look at center. Jimmy, you think any of these guys are locked in at this point?
Yes. You're buying into all this coach speak. Good night. Where y'all been? Matt Crowder is going to be the center. Okay? And when he missed 2 games last year, what happened? He's going to be your center. And who's going to beat out Jashawn Robertson at right guard? Nobody. I think there's another one locked down. Kyler Kerbyson, left tackle. Who's going to beat him out? He's at a very good camp. Blair's not going to beat him out. I don't think a true freshman's going to come in and beat him out. So to me, it's left guard and right tackle. Those are the 2 open spots.
Just for the sake of argument, what if they decided Jashawn Robertson could play center and they've got somebody else could play guard?
No.
Won't happen.
No. What are you going to do with Crowder? He's not going to play?
He did seem to be the cog last year. I don't know that he was a great player.
He's not a great player.
But take that.
He's better than what you got.
But the other thing is, though, some guys, you don't have to be the best player out there if everybody else has confidence.
He seemed like he was the leader of the group.
Yes, he steadied things. And by default, that kind of makes you the best player.
Or the most important player, if not the
there
best.
You go, most important.
I had Crowder, Kerbyson, and possibly Kendrick, I think, from some of the things we've heard. But I definitely think Crowder and Kerbyson.
They are certainly challenging Dontavius Blair to step forward. And he did not last year. We'll see if he steps it up this year. And, of course, everyone's awaiting the arrival of Drew Richmond as well. All right. When we come back, everybody loves Josh Dobbs. Now we'll look back at past UT quarterbacks. What does history say? Or is everybody going to love Josh Dobbs by the end of the season? We'll discuss. Come on back.
Quality, quick. Trust Fast Frame.